Hello, welcome to the program. First tonight, the case that has outraged South Australia and has called into question just how just our justice system really is. Geoff Williams lost an eye, and because of a deal with the Director of Public Prosecutions, Paul Rofe, the young man who shot him, Paul Nemer, walked free, and most of us don't understand why. And tonight we can reveal some stunning evidence about the gun used in that pointless shooting that was never revealed to the court. As Graham Archer reports, Geoff Williams and his wife Judy say their lives have been devastated, and they're angry that the system seems to have done more to protect the shooter than them.
Well, I was hoping I'd get justice and something would come out of this more than it has.
Do you feel like justice hasn't been done?
Yes, I do. As far as I'm concerned, justice hasn't been done.
If the past has anything to teach us, Geoff and Judy Williams hope we are willing to learn from this lesson.
Life's turned upside down, literally. It's been hell.
The sentencing of 21-year-old Paul Nemer to a $100 bond after shooting and blinding newsagent Geoff Williams is just the latest outrage.
I think they both deserve to be in jail for what I've been through. And they've done nothing. They've done no time.
Not even community service?
Not even, no. In 2 years he's been wandering around. And look at me for 2 years.
The gulf between the evidence available to the court and the agreed facts contained in a deal done by the state's Director of Public Prosecutions, Paul Rofe, and the defence is breathtaking. But who could have expected this?
They handed in the wrong one.
They handed in the wrong gun.
The gun that they talked about in court that day was not the gun
that
I was shot
with.
So who handed in the wrong gun?
Paul Nemer, supposedly.
We don't know. We've never been told.
And at what point did they realise that they were dealing with the wrong gun?
That's another thing we don't know. Haven't been told.
Possibly when I found the bullet in the washing machine at home.
Was any of this brought up in court?
It wasn't even mentioned in court. It wasn't even brought up. No one even mentioned it.
And Paul Rofe did not contest that was, when they spoke in court, that was the gun. He spoke, they handed in a registered gun, and he did not contest that was not the gun that shot Geoff.
So they were dealing with the wrong gun?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So it may well be that the gun that you were shot with wasn't registered.
That's a possibility.
Have they ever found the gun that you were shot with?
Don't know.
Don't know.
So you've never seen it?
No.
Has anyone raised this? I mean, did the judge know this?
That we honestly
don't know.
We don't know. I don't know.
Certainly nothing of that in those agreed facts, which explain how two young female friends contacted Nemer in the early hours of the morning, claiming they were being stalked. Nemer, then 19, grabbed a loaded handgun from home and with the young companion who took the call, went to the girl's assistance. Instead of calling the police, Nemer pulled out the gun and shot Geoff Williams while he was doing his paper round. Judge Sulan completes the so-called official story.
You, Nemer, claim you were running towards the vehicle, and as you took the gun from your pocket, believing the person in the van may attack you, it discharged as you were aiming the gun in the vicinity of the vehicle with a view to it firing over the top of the vehicle.
What do you think about that?
We shot through a window. I turned around, there's a barrel of a gun looking at me.
So in your mind, there was no intention of firing a warning shot?
No.
How such a deal can be done demands an inquiry, as does such a decision that sees the son of a wealthy family walk free, while the judge, in his sentencing, says,
You have pledged to compensate him when you can.
It unfortunately smacks of the suggestion, given the Nemer's wealth, that money could be a measure of remorse. All this is news to the Williams.
Has there been any indication of compensation from Paul Nemer?
Nothing.
There's been nothing at all at this stage.
No, nothing.
I accept that you are truly sorry and that you have suffered emotionally and psychologically since this incident.
The judge also said that Paul Nemer was very remorseful. Have you seen any evidence of that remorse?
Again, nothing.
No letters, no communication?
No.
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 It was the same Judge Sulan who a month ago in sentencing bikie Darren Schmidt for the fatal shooting of young Stacey Brown also went on at length about that killer's remorse.
I have little doubt that these events have left a deep impression on you. You are deeply remorseful for what has happened.
He never shed a tear, he never showed any remorse ever. His face, he never looked in our direction to even show any remorse towards the family sitting in the docks. There was no remorse from him.
Stacey's family certainly had no reason to share the judge's sentiments, but he went on.
You have no abnormal psychiatric or psychological conditions. You are extremely affected by what has occurred and that you have a great concern for those who have been affected by these events.
Has he ever made any contact with you as the family?
No.
No.
Nothing from his lawyers?
Nothing.
No attempt at all?
No.
It was a different case, but same outcome. The Director of Public Prosecutions does a deal with the same defence counsel on agreed facts which fail to match the evidence, including Schmidt firing a handgun at point-blank range and then deserting the scene with the gun, leaving Stacey to die, claiming he called 000 within 5 minutes, when elsewhere the court was told the delay could have been up to 2 hours. Not to mention the intimidation of a key witness, and the same judge delivering a grossly inadequate sentence.
I was just absolutely dumbfounded to think that somebody's life is worth 15 months. That's just something I can't accept.
The point being that the justice Geoff Williams received should not be viewed in isolation.
What do you think of the performance of the Director of Public Prosecutions in this?
Personally, I think he could have done and should have done a little bit more, a lot more. I don't think he's done enough.
What do you think, Judy?
I think there's evidence there that he should have produced that was either ignored or wasn't produced, and that I think has had a big sway on how this public and how the judge even saw it.
Remember, this is the same DPP whom we caught spending much of his working day laying bets at the TAB.
What about the gambling?
I don't regard it as a problem.
The same DPP who has frequented the Grange Room, once called the High Rollers Room of the Adelaide Casino.
There are also rumours that you had lost large sums at the casino.
Yes, I've heard those rumours.
They're not true?
No.
But you do like a flutter on the horses?
I do.
Then it's actually a bit more than a flutter.
I wouldn't call it more than a flutter.
And when we questioned the appropriateness of this conduct, not one criminal lawyer expressed concern. In fact, we received an avalanche of abuse from the legal profession, and the Law Society came up with this.
Firstly, I think you owe Mr Rofe an apology.
On what score?
Well, in view of what you said. I mean, now's your opportunity to apologise.
Michael Abbott is one of the state's foremost barristers, and in this case perfectly reflects the attitudes of his profession.
There are lots of things that irk us in the society in which we live, but they're the rules by which we live.
As for Judge Sulan, he claimed his hands were tied.
The sentencing judge has no alternative but to accept those facts.
But he could have used his discretion. That's what judges are for, while the Williams were left to wonder who was in their corner.
How has it affected your family?
It was devastating because our Ben, he was doing year 12, and I mean to say he went into a state of shock. He was also had to withdraw to help run the business. Courtney, she's suffered a lot in the respect that she's very close to her dad, and she's been medically sick at different times, I think basically through stress. But I mean to say we're a family that we do a lot of talking, we're fairly positive in our outlook, and we tend to try the best we can to get on with and do things as much as normal as we possibly can. Admittedly, we have our down times, some extremely, bad times, but we've got to look, okay, Geoff's alive, and we've got to make the most of that and keep going in as positive a direction as we possibly can.
Well, you've done very well by the looks of it. Many couples wouldn't survive this kind of incident.
No, we have.
I mean, so occasionally,
Been some bad times, but there's some
we
good
have
times.
to support each other, and that's what a family's about. You've got to support each other to, through good and bad. And this is bad. It's through no
fault of my own. And we've come through it.
Premier Mike Rann says he's going to demand an inquiry. Good job, but he shouldn't be surprised if there's a queue at his door in the morning.
This is not an isolated instance in terms of the way the justice system has been operating. Is that something that you're concerned about?
Yeah, something's got to be changed. It's got to happen. This is not the only case. Something's got to happen now. Please, let's fix it.
What do you think, Judy?
I think it's the opportunity for big changes to take place, and if it means Geoff has suffered the way he has, I think if some good can come out of it for other people, so be it. And I think we would feel dreadful if we ran away and hid from it and not tried to, bring some changes about.
Certainly a difficult case to understand. Hello, welcome to the program. First tonight, the Nemer shooting case, and finally an inquiry into the sentence that many South Australians believe is grossly inadequate. The Director of Public Prosecutions believes the plea bargain that effectively kept Paul Nemer out of jail was a reasonable use of the law. But Geoff Williams, who lost his eye in that shooting, certainly does not agree. As Graham Archer reports, the critical issue now is just how independent that inquiry will be.
Do you feel like justice hasn't been done?
Yes, I do. As far as I'm concerned, justice hasn't been done.
The process here would appear, certainly on the story of the Williams, to have failed.
If they're talking about contempt of court, then go ahead and make my day.
So the Premier has finally picked up the scent that something is on the nose around this place.
You went to see the Premier Mike Rann. He'd promised for an inquiry. Is that the message that you're getting from the Premier?
Yes.
The inquiry should be an independent inquiry, and it should examine all aspects of this case, because many questions remain unanswered in relation to the way in which this prosecution occurred.
But the Shadow Attorney-General, Robert Lawson, has now raised concerns about just how independent that inquiry will be.
The Solicitor-General, Chris Kourakis QC, is being asked to look over the shoulder of the DPP, Paul Rofe, who himself is to receive shortly, we believe, a report from the anti-corruption branch of the police into a case in which Mr Kourakis himself was acting as the barrister for Michael Atkinson. Now, it's all too closely related. It's all too incestuous.
So what you're saying is that Kourakis is looking over the shoulder of the bloke who's about to receive a police report on his own client, the former Attorney-General.
The appearance of independence is vital in these circumstances. I'm not suggesting that there would be any bias or impropriety, but I believe if the community is to be reassured that a proper investigation has been undertaken, there needs to be an independent counsel or retired judge from out of South Australia.
The case referred to is the alleged offer to Ralph Clark, the former deputy of the Labor Party. But the Solicitor-General has seemingly confused his loyalties in the past. When president of the Law Society, he wrote this article in the Tiser, attacking Today Tonight for our investigations into the Peter Liddy asset sale and defending the role of various lawyers. Mr Kourakis failed to mention that he too had acted for Liddy. But more extraordinary was that at the time, Mr Kourakis was acting for Today Tonight in a separate defamation case. His allegiance to his Law Society members was apparently more important to him than to us, his own clients. We have complained to the Legal Practitioners Board.
I would make no comment at all on those particular issues.
And while we're on the topic of correspondence, here's a threatening letter sent to the head of News and Current Affairs of Channel 7 from Premier Mike Rann complaining about our investigations into miscarriages of justice.
Today Tonight Adelaide has a clear belief that the justice system in South Australia is somehow fatally flawed, and it has set about building a case to vindicate its theory. The program has failed to inspire any other media in South Australia to follow their cause.
But so much for that argument now.
All of us are concerned that our legal fraternity has become some kind of club around Australia and around the world. So I'm on the side of the victims of crime. That's why I'm toughening up the law.
Of course, before the Williams case, the media's attitude was partly based on the threat of being locked out of the Premier's circle, as we were.
But I'm from Channel 7 today.
I realise that,
I'm a
sir.
journalist. It's a press conference.
I realise that, and I have the names of all the people here.
Too scary for most journos.
Hello.
The system is not fatally flawed at all, but it is in need of serious attention. No doubt the Williams case will be characterised as isolated, but it really is symptomatic of deeper concerns. The Schmidt case, the Aitken case, the Watkins case, and so on.
They know what's wrong with the system. Someone has to stand up and say enough's enough.
And how can it be that judges and lawyers have witnessed the often bizarre and sometimes flawed evidence of former forensic chief Dr Colin Manock put to the court in numerous cases and no one raised a voice?
I want to send some messages to the criminals and the lawyers in this state that we mean business.
Well, you heard it, folks. Now, returning to the Geoff Williams shooting and the possible substitution of that gun.
They handed in the wrong one.
They handed in the wrong gun.
The gun that they talked about in court that day was not the gun
Not
that
the gun
was
that
shot
I
Geoff.
was shot with.
So who handed in the wrong gun?
Paul Nemer, supposedly.
We don't know. We've never been told.
And at what point did they realise that they were dealing with the wrong gun?
When I
That's another thing we don't know. Haven't been told.
Possibly when I found the bullet in the washing machine at home.
Was any of this brought up in court?
It wasn't even mentioned in court. It wasn't even brought up. No one even mentioned it.
And Paul Rofe did not contest that was when they spoke in court that was the gun. He spoke. They handed in a registered gun, and he did not contest that was not the gun that shot Geoff.
Well, they were extraordinary claims by Mrs Williams that the gun that was handed in was not the weapon which had fired the bullet that she found in her washing machine. Apparently these claims were also made to Premier Rann when he saw the Williams, and I'm amazed that there has been no public response from the government or from the DPP or from the police on that issue. It has raised great concerns in the wider community, and the community deserves an answer on this issue.
I also spoke to Paul Rofe very briefly, and he said, look, there was a question about the gun. I think he was satisfied with what had been done.
Well, the DPP was also happy with a $100 bond. As for Lindy Powell, the defence barrister, she appears to claim it was enough to say that her client shot a gun. Beyond that, it's not relevant.
I'm very surprised by that assertion. I believe if the judge had been aware and made aware of the fact that the wrong gun, if in fact the wrong gun was handed in, it would have influenced his it could have influenced his decision significantly.
Clearly, there's a lot of work to be done on the Williams case and on the process itself.
Yeah, something's got to be changed. It's got to happen. You know, this is not the only case. Something's got to happen now. You know, please, let's fix it.
What do you think, Judy?
I think it's the opportunity for big changes to take place, and if it means Geoff has suffered the way he has, I think if some good can come out of it for other people, so be it.
Well, let's hope.